Welcome back to Black News Tonight. Dozens killed along the conflict-ridden border shared by South Sudan and Sudan, as we continue to shine a light on the stories impacting the black world. Clashes between the Mesariya, the nomadic people of Sudan, and the locals from the northern Bahr el-Ghazal state of South Sudan has led to the killing of at least 24 people over the last few days, according to the news outlet The East African. Ibrahim Marek, a representative for the Mesariya community, denounced the violent clashes while publicly appealing for immediate intervention by the Sudanese government in order to halt rising tensions at the border. Now let's turn to Sudan, as reports say the latest clashes between security forces and protesters against military rule in Sudan have claimed the lives of multiple people. The latest killings due to the government crackdown on anti-coup protesters have now raised the total death toll to at least 59 people killed since the military takeover on October 25th of last year. Demonstrations across the nation today featured Sudanese military personnel deploying tear gas and using force on thousands of anti-coup protesters, just days after Abdalla Hamdok's resignation from his prime minister post. And in a joint statement, the United States and other international powers are threatening action against Sudan as they urge Sudanese leadership, including top General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, not to appoint a new prime minister without the involvement of the civilian movements in Sudan. Joining me now to discuss the ever-changing situation in Sudan that has shaken up both the nation and indeed the world is our frequent guest, a writer, organizer, and analyst, Muzan Alneel. Muzan, so good to have you here. What do you make of the recent clashes between security forces and anti-coup protesters in Sudan, particularly since the resignation of Abdalla Hamdok as the prime minister?
Well, thank you for having me again, Mark. A total of 60 people actually were killed by the state forces since the coup on October. Let me take you through some of today's events to try to reflect the reality of peaceful protest and state violence in Sudan and what we've been dealing with for more than 2 months now. Today's protest is part of January's schedule, which was announced by the resistance committees. And just like previous protests, it faced extreme violence from the state forces that included the police, the army, and the rest of their collection of official and unofficial militias. Their weapons against peaceful protesters included munitions, tear gas, sound, anti-craft guns. We even saw tear gas dropping drones 2 days ago. And today they killed 3 protesters with live ammunition to the chest and the head. More than 200 cases of suffocation with tear gases were reported. Some protesters were ran over by the vehicles of the armed forces. The protesters had to protect hospitals from state militias. The police forces stormed Khartoum Hospital, shot tear gas in the emergency room. They surrounded Al-Arbaeen Hospital to stop the injured from getting treated. And after the protest was over, they also basically went on a revenge mode, storming houses, robbing them, driving around the streets, randomly shooting live ammunition, terrorizing people, attacking their homes. And the protest for today only took place in more than 20 Sudanese cities. They took place under internet and call shutdown. This is our new normal. This is the normal practice of the government now. Whenever there's an announced protest day, they shut down the internet, they close the bridges with shipping containers. Seriously, shipping containers stacked over each other at every bridge entrance in the capital. They've turned the city into a war zone, Mark, and it's a war zone against peaceful protesters who are showing exemplary levels of collective discipline and commitment to the peaceful approach, while the government is just committing daily crimes against humanity.
How would you describe the impact of Hamdok's recent resignation? In fact, what's your assessment of why he resigned? And then talk to me a little bit about the fallout.
Well, let's remember that Hamdok was reinstated as the prime minister by an agreement that gave the military leaders all the power and structure that they asked for. And they clearly announced what they asked for in their post-coup press conference last October. It provided them with a so-called technocratic and internationally accepted face in Hamdok. And that's why the public started calling him the secretary of the coup since then. When Hamdok gave his resignation speech a few days ago, he clearly said that the reason he's resigning is that he could not achieve necessary consensus to stop the bloodshed. He does not see the bloodshed as a result of the crime of the military, but what is needed is just consensus. We need to all have a dialogue with our killers, and then everything would have been fine. But he left because that did not happen. So I'm gonna take his words for it. That's why he left, because we would not agree to talk to our killers. But his resignation actually did not reflect any change in the situation on the ground, because, as I told you, he's been seen as part of the coup since he signed the agreement. The first protest after his resignation, the protesters were chanting, "استقال ما استقال الجدول شغال." In English, that translates to, regardless of his resignation, the protest schedule continues. So it had no impact in reality. But for the Sudanese elites and for the international community, who are totally disconnected from reality, this dude with the tie was a good enough justification to go back to supporting the military rule under a fake phrase that they call civilian-led government, basically attempting to gaslight the Sudanese public again, like they did in 2019. Another impact that we noticed since the resignation, that a pro-military so-called strategic analyst on every national and regional television station, they're calling for creating of a central leadership for the resistance, for the military to talk to. What they mean, as far as I see it, is that they're looking for a leadership that they can co-opt and corrupt, and that's what they couldn't find in the setup of the resistance right now. So what we keep seeing statements also from the police. Today, the police put out a full statement full of lies about how the protesters are attacking the police. And I think due to that, we can predict mass arrests and fake charges, in addition to maybe new level of violence against the protesters that will be justified by government lies.
Muzan, before we go, what kind of influence will Western powers have on Sudan's military leadership, including civilian input and approval in the appointment of a prime minister? We see the statements coming from the West. We hear talk of sanctions and discipline. What do you see happening in real life on the ground?
Well, I think it's important that the statements from Western powers must be reviewed within context. Like the statement from the US, the UK, and Norway, for example, demanded a recommitment to democratic transition. So what they're asking for here is, again, a return to the pre-coup situation, the so-called powers sharing situation between the military, controlling the armed forces and huge investment, interfering in political decision, and on the other side, a civilian cabinet that is basically the executive secretary of the military leaders and serving the interest of those international and regional powers. This is a situation. It's a situation that Sudanese elites and historically political parties have actually announced that they're working for and seeking dialogue with the military. On the other hand, such a setup does not serve the interest of the streets, since the coup, who have been chanting "Sulta Sulta Shab wal Askar lehtakanat," basically power to the people and the military to the barricades. This is another attempt by Western powers to pass a counter-revolutionary and unjust situation as a win for the people, to fool us. They might even go as far as putting pressure to change the military leaders, change the faces to support their predictable tricks. And it's not that Western powers are not aware of the reality of how that will not change the reality of Sudanese people, that justice to Sudanese people cannot be achieved under the military rule. They just don't care. They care about stability and to enable their investments and inclusion into international markets that we know about. But they need to understand that that's no longer how you do stability in Sudan. The Sudanese people have crippled the progress of the coup for 2 months, regardless of their mediation and their fake agreements. And that's going to continue unless the demands of the Sudanese people are achieved. So it would be better for Western powers to understand the power of the people, but that's not something we expect from them. That's not what we learn. They do, but it will be a nice surprise.
Right. History shows that your lack of expectation is probably reasonable. History shows that you're probably right to not expect much from Western powers. But I appreciate your struggle, I appreciate the fight, and I appreciate your voice here, Muzan. Thank you as always for joining me on Black News Tonight.